Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to do some maintenance before we have a little ride day this weekend. So I got to clean the filter and change the oil on the KTM. Going to try to do it in the trailer, so I'll be in and out of the garage and the trailer for this video. But what we're going to do is get started on the filter. So I've got two filters that I'm going to clean, and we're going to be using the no toil, and you've got your filter oil, your filter detergent, and your rim grease for the filter whenever it goes back on around the air box. Also, you'll need a bucket. Just a Home Depot bucket works, or 5-gallon bucket. And then I probably put way too much this time, but I was not really paying attention. Your detergent that comes with the no toil cleaning kit, which is up there on the shelf. This stuff, so that goes in there, and then we'll go inside and get some warm water. Another thing that's helpful to have is your rubber gloves. I use nitrile gloves. Some people use little dishwashing gloves, whatever works. Keep your hands from getting sticky, because this stuff is pretty sticky once you start messing with it. So first you want to take it out of the screen frame, or the spark arrestor. So just peel it out the sides, pop the top off, and throw your spark arrestor in the bucket. Usually works pretty instantly, so you can just clean that off. And set it off to the side. Then take your filter and throw it in there. And that's pretty much it. Make sure there aren't any clumps of dirt or anything. If you do it more often than not, then it's actually pretty easy and quick. So I usually put it in the detergent water 2 or 3 times before I finish up, but that turned out pretty clean. So make sure you wring it out really good. And then just set it off to the side and do your next one. I have a storage container that I'm going to put the re-oiled filters in. It's just the twin air bag that it came with. When you buy a twin air filter, they come in a resealable bag that is specifically to be used for that purpose. So you can grease up your air filters at the race or wherever you're at the track, and you can keep them in your trailer or in your truck or in the garage, and they're ready whenever you are. Or you can get no toils. No toils come pre-oiled, but I haven't had much longevity out of a no toil, so I use twin air. Get rid of that. Since this has all kinds of dirt stuck to it, I'm just going to get rid of this bag. It's just a freezer bag. This is another option. Freezer baggies are really good. The large gallon size freezer baggies fit your filter in there perfectly. So, just like before, see if I can get a better angle so you guys can see what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. Go around the rim. Make sure you get all the old stuff off. Clean the grommets off. Lift it up. All the stuff from the inside of the filter out, because you don't want that going inside the engine. Flip it inside out. I usually fold it in half before I dip it back in the bucket, because the bucket can sometimes have like bugs or dirt particles. You just don't want it inside the filter, so I'll hold it like that, dip it down in there, wring it out. You can use cold or hot water when you do this. I always use hot water just because it helps the detergent break up better. Otherwise, it could take a while. You might have to rinse it a couple times before the detergent starts breaking up inside the water. So, I might have left that one in the bag a little too long. So it's stained, but that's clean, and that's usable. So just check for deterioration, breaks in the edges. But this has only been used for a couple of rides, and then I swapped it out. So the only thing you really don't want to do is twist, because that'll stretch it out. So just ball it up, squeeze it as hard as you can, and then that's it. Now you're ready to oil. So some people let them air dry completely, but I find if you leave them a little bit wet whenever you put the oil in there, the water helps spread the oil around. So I still do it whenever they're wet, and I let them air dry. And when they air dry, they're just as effective. That, and you use less oil. I've never been a big fan of clogging up my air filters with a shitload of oil. So we'll just flip it inside out, and we'll put some filter oil in there. One other little tip. I always open my filter oil like that, just kind of like a old school tin can. So you got a breather hole up here and then a spout right here. Otherwise it glugs. And I'll take it, pour some oil in there. Knead it around. If you see that it's thicker on one side and you need some over, like right there, just fold it and knead it together. This stuff is super sticky, so you do not have to use a lot for it to be effective. And you certainly don't want to use so much that you clog up your air filter, because then your bike runs too hot and it starves for air. So you just want it to catch the oil that comes through there. or catch the dirt. Really, the best way to do it is make sure that you take your time with this and get it spread around nice and even. So now there's a nice even coat on there. Then we'll just put this on top of the rack on the bag and let it air dry. And then we'll put it in. Don't put it in the bag wet, because then it'll mold. When I pour it too, I try to get it around closer to the edges when I pour it, and it'll run down into the middle all day long, but that'll help make sure you get it around the groms and around the edges. You can smell it too. Over right there. There we go. That one's pretty good. This is the one that's going back on the bike. So what I'll do is I'll put this back in it. Not before I spray. This is going back on the bike. So I'll put the screen or the spark arrestor back in it. But before I do, you want to clean this off with some brake parts cleaner. So I'll clean that, put this in the frame, and then we'll go clean out the airbox on the bike. All right, so we're here in the trailer with our carb cleaner and our clean towel. And before you put the filter back on, you want to clean around the edge of the gasket surface. Try not to get any inside, if at all possible. If you do, immediately wipe it out, because this is fuel injected. You don't want carb cleaner or anything getting in there and messing with the fuel injection or the throttle body. So just do what you can to wipe it out and clean the entire airbox area out without, leaving any debris. This is how your engine breathes. You wouldn't want to breathe through a dirty filter. Neither does your bike or your engine, and it'll last longer as long as you make this a rhythm and you clean your airbox and your cover and the rim and any dirt inside this airbox before you put your new filter back on. Filters should be changed, by the way. Usually I go by looking how dirty it is, but if you can't really tell, you don't have the eye for that, usually every 3 to 4 rides, depending on how dusty it is. If it's super dry and you're riding in the desert, that's every ride. If it's fall and you ride in a humid climate and there's a lot of moisture, it's usually kind of dirty or nice rich dirt, then not much dust is getting in there, which is good. You just need to make sure you're cleaning the bike and double checking it. So spray the box, spray the rag, wipe it out. Another big thing you'll see on a lot of used bikes, especially the ones that I get to rebuild, is a gunk buildup around here, and it's from people using the rim grease but not cleaning their air box correctly, or at least enough before they put the new filter back on. And then dirt gets in there and builds up a gunk, and it turns into a sludge inside the air box, which is also pretty detrimental. So, I mean, you're not going to get it perfect, but you want to try, at least try. I've seen where people, it was obvious they didn't even try. Pretty sad. In my opinion, bikes deserve a little bit more respect than that. It really doesn't take much. A little drippage. Okay. Gets you guys a little closer. There's a little dirt down in the cracks, but that's pretty good. See if we can get closer. All the way around that gasket. Should be sparkly clean. All right, back with the filter, and you don't need a ton. I just put a little ring all the way around it, and then take my hand or my finger and spread it evenly across the surface where you know it's going to be mating to the air box. If it's a little thicker on one spot and thinner in the other, just wipe it off and re-put it or reapply it on a different seal. Again, you do not need a globbed ass bunch of rim grease on there. It's just a seal. So put it back in. Go. Make sure you're seated all the way around. And you're good to put the cover back on that. What I'm going to do is clean the inside of that cover off and we'll pop it back on. But you're good with the gloves. Alright, cleaned it off. Put some Honda Bright on it. And we'll pop it back on. Alright, now let's move on to the oil. To change the oil on your bike, you will need a 14 or a 12 for the plug, an 8 for the oil filter cover, a magnet and or flathead screwdriver to assist with removal of the filter, and an Allen wrench with an extension in order to get your skid plate off in the event that you have a skid plate on your bike. So we'll begin by removing the skid plate. And it's got a crossbar, so you just take that all the way out and then it unhooks from the crossbar right here on the frame. Pull that out and unhook that. I always take this opportunity to clean that out too. Now we'll lay out a rag to put the bolts on, and what do you think it is, Hanky? Is it a 12 or a 14?
12.
Do you think it's a 12?
Uh-huh.
I think it's a 14. It might be a 13. It is a KTM. Yeah, it's a 13. Ha!
Not 12.
No.
I think it's a 14.
It's a 13. Yep, 13. Okay. Ready, tighty, lefty, loosey?
What?
For some reason that was way too tight. Let her drain. I always smell it just to make sure it doesn't smell burnt. You know that smell of burnt oil on an exhaust? If you've ever ridden in a car with an oil leak, it'll smell pretty different, but this is pretty, I mean, I could have got away with using that a little bit longer, but I always get paranoid.
Who are you
So-
talking to?
Talking to the camera. So, better safe than sorry. Alright, now that that's dripping, take your 8 and take the filter cover off. Pretty much the only thing that is.
Maybe I
An
should
8.
start.
Alright. Alright, that'll drip a little. Smells good, looks good. Looks brand new actually. Clean that off with some carb cleaner.
I did.
Yeah, look out. I don't want you to get sprayed, so you should probably.
Wait for what?
My cleaner.
What trainer?
So So there's a cleaner screen on this drain plug, and right here that on the KTMs you're supposed to pull out and clean with every change. So we'll check that, make sure there's no excessive signs of wear.
Let's have some chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
We're coming with you guys.
Okay, cool. Make sure you get that crush washer. There's a magnet in there. Looks like I've got some shards. And there's a crush washer. This bike's only got 30 hours on it, so it's gonna have some break-in shards.
Shut the door.
Actually, don't think I've ever pulled that one. I've been pulling this one, which has the screen on it. So we'll clean that off. We will spray that off.
Amanda's way coming.
Oh yeah, was any in the car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a truck.
Bring the bike over a little. I know these filters are kind of a bitch to get out. If you have a magnet, you can hook the magnet to it and kind of go around in circles, and it'll work that seal on the inside. Otherwise, another trick is these have a little indentation in them right there. I'm gonna lean this a little this way, and you can get a socket and wrap a paper towel around it. I'll show you, because this one's being a kind of a bitch too. So take the new filter and go get a socket. Strike the pick off, or strike the socket option. That worked with my Suzuki, but not this one. We're going to try these little picks. So should be able to just get right in around the edge of it. There we go. I used the one that was a little bit bent over, and it popped out. Take the old one. See how dirty that gets though? I mean, that's pretty typical. It doesn't smell burnt. It's just old. Why would you want to reuse something like that? So, take a clean paper towel. I always hold it right here and then spray with some carb cleaner to get the old oil out. And clean out that housing. Not very dirty, which is good. The carb cleaner will dissolve. Take your new filter That side goes in, obviously. Seat it. Take a little oil, actually. It's still pretty good. Put it around the edge of that. Seat it, and put your cap back on. Typically, I would put on gloves for this, but it's not bad for the hands to get oil on them. And I don't mind it, so I opted out of the nitrile glove. KTM also suggests to replace that crush washer every time you do this, but I don't. And I haven't had any leaks or issues yet. Once I start seeing some seepage, then I'll replace it. Okay, now that you got your plugs and your filter changed, go ahead and fill it up with the oil. This takes, I want to say 946, or just slightly over 1 quart. There is a viewing window on the other side, and we'll just fill it up to the middle of the viewing window. I use recommended Motorex 10W50 fully synthetic 4T 4-stroke motor oil. All right, so our oil level appears to be passed, but I did not even put a full quart in there, so I'm gonna run it for a second and see if it cycles through where the oil filter is, and then we'll check it again. Been a minute. Okay, and then we'll let it settle. And we'll check it again. Oh, still a little mixed up. Okay, we might have to drain a little out. Shoot. All right, other than adjusting the oil level, I might have put a little too much in it. We'll put the skid plate back on, and she should be good to ride this weekend. I think I might be able to sneak out of here a little bit on maybe either Sunday morning or Saturday afternoon and go take a couple laps. So fingers crossed for that. Hopefully nothing gets in the way. All right, until next time, this has been a maintenance video. Is that supposed to be a fart?